God has been giving me visions the past few nights. And I say it's a vision and not a dream. It's because it's really weird. Like, you just suddenly, like, you're thinking about something and then snap. You're in this different reality and you're looking at something. And these visions were only like 1 or 2 seconds. But the first one was of right here, looking out at the lake, and I saw a missile or something come shoo, like right over here. And in the vision, I was like, "Hoo!" That was my reaction. Like, it was just so sudden. And then I came out of that, I woke up fully, and I was like, "Whoa." And then later on that night, and this one I'm not sure if it was a dream or a vision, but it had that same feeling. I was looking at my hands, and my hands were becoming like sparkly gold. There were all these gold sparkles, and my body was starting to change into something else that was gold and sparkly. And I was like, whoa! And then last night, I know that I had vision after vision after vision. It was at least 3 of them, and they were so peaceful and comforting, and I know they were about the rapture or the end times, but I cannot remember literally anything. I just remember being, oh, that all makes sense. Oh, yeah. And just like totally comforted in my spirit. The only thing I could remember was October 2nd to October 4th, look up, like be watching the skies. And I'm not setting dates or anything. That is roughly when Rosh Hashanah, the Feast of Trumpets, is happening. Maybe it's just because the U.S. is about to change in an irrevocable way. Maybe it's not the rapture. That's the only thing I remember from those visions. And they were so, like, I'm so frustrated that I don't remember more, but I think it's intentional. The Holy Spirit hid stuff from me. Like, he told it all to me to comfort me, and then, oh, yeah, now I can't remember it. So I'm comforted, but I don't remember what it was. Just keep your eyes up. And gosh, stuff is happening right now. The dock workers are going on strike. And Israel is getting attacked. I don't know. I found this dream in my journal the other day. It's from Friday, March 26th, 2021. It says, I didn't make it through my fast yesterday, but God gave me an amazing dream anyway. Starring Martin Freeman, of all people, as Jesus. So in the dream, Martin Freeman was Jesus. He's not in real life, obviously, but I don't know. It was a dream. He wanted to propose to the woman he loved, someone with long brown curly hair. He worked at some type of apple tree nursery. They had all these greenhouses full of different types of apple trees that they would start from cuttings. And then a Hugh Bonneville type character, so not actually Hugh Bonneville, but just a guy who looked like him. He seemed to be a co-worker or a mentor to the Martin Freeman guy. He said something like, I guess the real question is, can you live without her? Martin Freeman shook his head, and his voice cracked, almost crying. I don't know if you've seen Martin Freeman act, but when he cries, it just makes you want to cry. And so, yeah, he's getting all sad, and he's like, and then he says, she's my virtuous bride. I don't know if you can imagine that. Anyway, in other words, he loves her. He has to marry her. Then the Hugh Bonneville type guy gave his approval. The Martin Freeman Jesus character was overjoyed. He grabbed one of the baby apple tree seed cuttings as a gift for her. I think it was blooming, like a branch. And I didn't write this down, but actually it kind of reminds me of the blooming branch in Jeremiah. Interesting. I had been watching all of this like a camera from third person until I suddenly realized that it was me he was rushing to propose to. It was me he wanted to marry, and I was somehow beautiful. Even though I don't have long curly hair, I never curl it. Anyway, so the interesting thing about this dream I had back in March 2021, which obviously has rapture symbolism, like with the bride of Christ, is I forgot all about this. And then in the mail a few days ago, I got an apple tree. And I was so excited about it. It's a variety called Red Flesh Red King. Or no. The variety is called Red King, but the variety that it is, when you bite into the apple, it's red inside. And so I was so excited about this apple tree I got in the mail. And it's like a branch, you know? And then I came across this, and I was like, huh. This is that apple tree I was talking to you about. Red King. So, another thing I wanted to share, I've gotten attacked so much while working on this mural. Starting the night before I began to work on this mural, I got an attack dream. And this is it. So the first part of the dream was actually really nice. It was not part of the attack. I was in a huge, shallow pond area or a gravel street that had flooded by 4 inches. Oh, by the way, this dream is from September 23rd, 2024. So this is before the flooding that occurred. And then I was with my daughter in this huge, flooded area. And my daughter and I were following some tiny frogs we found. And I was jumping around, and my jumps got really long. And I started to realize that I had the ability to fly. And I was shouting to my husband, "Check this out! I remembered how to fly!" And he was turned with his back to me, and he wouldn't listen. And so in my dreams in the past when I was a kid, I used to fly all the time. And I had the ability to control where I was flying. So anyways, that's why in this dream I said, oh, I remembered how to fly. And I was so happy about it because I love flying. Anyway, so the next dream, there was this blonde guy with short hair and he was showing me his garden. He showed me this variety of pink blueberries he had never seen before. They were deformed, kind of like honeyberries, but more in the shape of a hemlock pine cone. He acted like they were rare and didn't want to share, but then smiled at me and put 3 in my hand. I stupidly ate one. Never eat things you are offered in dreams. Then we were in his house. Not quite sure what happened, but I remember saying something like, "No, bro," and walking away. And then I was in another dream. So I woke up from that dream into another dream, but all the dreams felt real. I was on a playground. There were things about the playground that were dangerous for kids that should have tipped me off, but I didn't notice. Like weird playground. Like a playground invented by Beetlejuice or something. A little boy with short hair was playing on the playground. He was happy and seemed to be having a good time. I gotta flip my page here. But occasionally, he would spit gravel out of his mouth. I realized that I had gravel in my mouth too. I seemed unfazed by this in the dream. I was just like, man, why do I have so much gravel in my mouth? I laughed it off like it was normal. It subsided as my attention turned to a couple kids sliding down a slide whose end was deformed or melted and leading into a ditch. I walked over quickly enough to catch the first kid in my arms. She was somewhere between 4 and 11 months old. Tiny, but old enough to walk. She had a foam helmet on that kids sometimes have when their heads are slightly deformed at birth, to help them grow more round as their skull grows. Grows is probably the wrong word. There are plates to the skull, but you get what I mean. I thought, oh, how cute. And I noticed her dad standing in a line of parents nearby. Not thinking about his lack of care for his daughter sliding into a ditch, I struck up a conversation with him. He looked like a normal guy, brown hair, hat, dressed like people typically dress around here in the Pacific Northwest. He seemed nice. I looked down at his daughter's toes as I was still holding her while we talked, and noticed she had 6 toes on her right foot. I quickly looked back at the dad, and we stared at each other for a second. We both knew I knew what he was. He changed instantly. I could still sort of see his faded human hands over his Nephilim ones. The first thing I noticed in that split second were his nails. They were sharp, gray, and semi-translucent. I must have set the girl down, or maybe she vanished, as he grabbed my left arm and scratched it with his nails. I don't know why, but I grabbed his arm right back and attempted to scratch him the same way, even though my nails are short. I play violin. He ratcheted out of my grasp and took off down a hallway that was suddenly there, even though we were outside, and went into a door on the left. I took off in the opposite direction across the playground. There must have been two realities stacked up on top of each other. I ran into a small building and tried to go to a back room, figuring out how to get away from that guy, but there he was. His Northwest dad clothes had been replaced with a black and white pinstripe suit. He had small curved horns on his head. He was bald and tall, not super tall, but like maybe 6'1". I tried to run out of the building, but he was there too. He started circling me. He was holding a card in his hand, and I think it had sigils on it. He started talking about how I'd make the perfect sacrifice for hell, that someone would be pleased with him. He said a few other things I can't remember, and suddenly I woke up. I put on the full armor of God and prayed. The second attack dream that I had either the next night or the night after that, I can't really remember. While I've been working on this mural, there were these two witches. One was African American and one was white. And they had this little white puppy, like a cute white lab, a little puppy. And they were cutting sigils into it. Like there was a sign on its forehead and on the sides of it and on its back. They were just cutting into it and the poor little guy was bleeding. And they were laughing at me like it was normal. And I can't really remember much else about that dream, but it was creepy. Like, why? Why? What did this puppy do to you? Well, you guys, this is my first wall mural. God knew it was a desire in my heart to create something beautiful for the new church building. And this is really the last thing that I wanted to do for God. Not that we really can do anything for God, but it was this thing that I wanted to complete before the rapture. And I'm telling you guys, it is finished.